Hi there, it's Tuesday the 13th of May and I'm in the orchard and I've been distributing some dung. This is some farmyard manure from a huge pile. Our neighbour over there, who you often hear the noises from his assorted birds, he keeps sheep, all kinds of bird out there, and horses. He's got a huge ever-growing pile of muck. Well, we negotiated to make a gate between our properties, and so I'm wheelbarrowing this stuff. Very laborious. I need the exercise very badly. Just a note, when you're applying this kind of stuff around the roots of trees, leave a gap. You don't want dung piled up against the tree roots. You want it lying on the surface, and that way the assorted nutrients, the phosphate, the nitrogen, the magnesium and the trace elements and all sorts, they will gradually leach their way into the soil. Anyway, a little wander around the orchard. Some good things, some not so good things. We've got a massive set of plums, and as you all know, long-time viewers will know, that means that before long we're going to have to come out here with the snips and thin them, and we're also going to have to put props up to prevent broken branches. Yes, we're looking like a good plum year. Not so good. We have had a very severe attack of one of my most hated pests, and that is the pear midge. The pear midge is a horrible thing. I went around here cutting all the pears off yesterday. That's sort of dead inside the centre of there. Some of these were writhing with sort of 3mm long maggots. We didn't get the spray on early enough. We need to hit pre-blossom next year. Didn't get it together. Vegetable patch. I've got some carrots coming up. That's a baby carrot, that's another baby carrot. Got a few baby onions coming up too. They're very small. I dug all this up. Yeah, I've been finger weeding these. Some baby onions coming up. A lot of hard work you have to work on these. Some leeks coming up there. Broad beans. There are potatoes here. Rough French beans. Potatoes coming up, again benefiting from the dung from next door. Some climbing beans, some marrows going in there. Now I just want to take you through some of the grafting I've been doing. Here we have some seedling pear rootstocks, and I've grafted in a bit of wood here from variety butt. You may recall I've got a peri pear variety butt at the far end. Planted in the wrong place. It's a really big tree, it's 40 feet tall. This was the best wood I could get from it, and I've grafted it onto these. I hope it'll do okay. It's not looking that great now, but at least it's surviving. These are quince rootstocks, and this is another peri pear. This is Blakeney red, and it's the good old saddle, which is the best graft to do if you've got approximately equal diameters of stock and scion. There's a cleft there. Again, that's another Blakeney red. Not looking bad. Not looking bad. The winter Nellis is the pear that blossoms earliest, and that got hit worst by the pear midge. I'm afraid we have 100% loss of the crop. 100% loss. Utterly miserable. Death is the answer. I need to spray harder and earlier next year. Some of the pears are looking great. This is a variety called Louis Bon of Jersey. I thinned these yesterday, and they are looking great. They don't seem to have been affected, which is great. So this is what I call the peace orchard. I've mentioned about this in the past. This is a rough area. It's about the size of 2 tennis courts, maybe a quarter of an acre-ish. And it's been neglected. It's been messed around with. We had 60 tonnes of clay dumped here by a friend. It wasn't left in a great state. That was my fault, really. And we weren't sure what to do with it. We left it. It grew all sorts of stuff. There's some wild things coming up. We had some trees put in here as a holding bed and then we didn't need them. That's a long and complicated story, not worth retelling. Eventually, about 3 years ago, I made a decision. This is going to be a pear orchard. It's going to be a wildflower meadow with widely planted pears. And after a recent trip to pear country, which I'll maybe post more about later, I'm even more determined to do that. Here are some there's a pear I grafted. This again is some Blakeney red. Some more dung around this. Also, you never get on top of the weeding. This is a pear rootstock I got from Keeber's nursery. It's been growing on for 3 years this year. I've cleft grafted some, again I've only grafted 2 varieties, Blakeney red and Winnell's Longdon. That's looking pretty good. That's looking pretty good. And here's another. This is Winnell's Longdon, and that's growing okay. This is the Helen's Early. If you recall back to an unboxing I did from Ashridge Nursery. Usually the trees are extremely good, but this one came with a really poor root on it, and it's barely survived. It's hung on for dear life. It's still alive, and you know, I've given it some dung. I'm hoping that having clung on for dear life, having come with a really very poor root to it. It was the only one. I mean, every other tree I've ever had from Ashridge has had fantastic roots and it's grown really well. This is holding on for survival. At least it's still here. It's still here, and I'm hoping that'll do well. This is that's a cat that kills a lot of birds around here. Kills a few mouse as well. This is a wild ash seedling which I probably need to cut down. Here's another of those seedling pear rootstocks that I've grown. When it came through the post, it was about that big 3 years ago. It's grown on very well, and I've grafted onto it Blakeney red. That's the most widely grown pear variety, a good reliable performer by all accounts. See cleft graft, saddle graft, and you can see it's already made a nice strong leader, 1.5 inches. So I've got a great hope for that. And here's another one. This is a bit of a mess, but I'll show it to you in the policy of always showing you things that didn't work out so well. This is a seedling pear planted some years ago. It grew at a funny angle, the graft didn't take, a bit of a mess, bad angle. I sawed it right down. There were 2 shoots. This one I've grafted, that's I think again Blakeney red. I've left this one in case that died, but I think I'm going to cut this one back to give that one more room. In fact, I'm going to snap that now. I haven't got secateurs on me because that's getting in the way of this one, and I want that to grow away well. This is variety Brandy, which, you know, I've just staked this. I put a stake on it because it was blowing around all over the place in the wind. Chestnut and a bit of bicycle inner tube there. This is a variety called Brandy, and I got this from Deacon's nursery, and that one there in the dead centre of the picture, that's another Brandy. Wander that way. In fact, I thinned these. I snipped all of the. It's just a mess around here, but believe me, it is a wildflower meadow. There is a management plan, and it is going the right way. This is another Brandy, twin to that other one. You can see actually where I've come in. It's had a heavy crop of fruitlets on it. It wasn't affected by the pear midge. I snipped them all off earlier this week because I want this tree to put all of its energy into growth, because I want these trees, and that's my head height, so that's 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot. I want these pear trees to grow to 30 or 40 feet as soon as possible, so they're getting a lot of dung, and I've taken all the fruit off of them. But this one, which is my pride and joy at the moment, is Winnell's Longdon, and this was planted I think about 6 years ago now, and this is now 6 feet, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's about 12 feet tall. It grew 1.5 feet last year, and it's carrying a decent amount of pears, and I think this year I am going to allow it to fruit. You can see it's making some strong growth. I mean, lots of 3-inch leaders already. You know, it's reaching for the sky. It's on strong rootstock, so this tree, eventually my aim is that it will grow perhaps 40, perhaps 45 feet tall, It'll be really big, it'll be widely spaced, and it will have this managed wildflower and insect sanctuary. The last time I saw a snake out here, in England we have 3 species of snake: the incredibly rare threatened smooth snake, the grass snake, which I've seen a few of out here, and adders. I've never seen an adder out here. They'd be very welcome if they were here, although they terrify me. As you can tell if you read my novel, Darwin's Adders. That's another story. This is Blakeney Red. Regular viewers will know that we had a tree growing here which was killed. It was completely girdled. All of the bark was completely destroyed by a fungus which grew during that horribly wet year we had a few years back. I sawed it off at the base with extreme care, leaving this shoot, and you can see it's grown 4 inches so far this year. This is rootstock. This is because underneath the ground here is a big strong root system, and it's pushing this little fellow up. I put some bamboo canes around it so we can see where it is to avoid harming it. What happened there, what went wrong there, was that we had a tree guard around it, and it held all the moisture in during this appalling year, the year I refer to as the long wet winter of 2011 to 2013. And if you lived through it, you remember what I'm talking about. Anyway, we're carrying on. We're working away here. Pear, thorn. This is pear, Pears communis. It's on the seedling pear rootstock. I forget where this came from. It's a different nursery I haven't used before. I can't remember, that's silly. Anyway, that is variety thorn. Yeah, I found out a bit more about perry recently visiting the Big Apple Perry and cider trials in the Markle Ridge area, Putsley. I'll post more about that later. Here's another perry pear. This one is called gin. This is said to have an exceedingly fine flavour, very aromatic. Not so much that it produces a very high alcohol perry, although some perries can have very high alcohol values, up to 10%. Definitely wine for wine glasses, not pints. And look at the growth it's made this year. Wow, this is what I want to see. Now later, I may come back and snip out 1 or 2 of these because I want to keep a nice strong upright. All of these side shoots, by the way, I will not want them on the finished tree, but don't cut them out now because they're all building girth. This is dealt with in R.R. Williams' book on cider apples. This is a maiden, and it's growing very strongly. I want it to grow to be a tall standard, but the lower branches I will retain, and I will gradually remove them. Like this one again, we've seen this pear before. This is variety brandy. Next year I'll probably take these 2 out and sort of crown lift it to about 3 feet. Then maybe the year after I'll take those out, and eventually I'll have this possibly this, which is about 5.5 feet. That may be the lowest branch, because you don't pick these. You use a thing called a panking pole, like a long pole with a cross piece on the end to give them a shake and pull it all down. Anyway, one more pear, pull the pears down and ripen them, and then make them into perry. This is the final one. Oh, I'm so annoyed I can't remember where I got these from now. Perry pear, this one's called Hendry Huffcap. Perry pears are very odd names. This is, that looks a bit sick actually, it's just there. I think I need to come back with the old secateurs and cut that out to an upright. But always need a little bit of care, always need a little bit more looking at. Yeah, and finally, yes, here we've got another one I've grafted. You can see, again, this is one of the seedling rootstocks which I bought from Keeper's Nursery, seedling pear rootstocks, and this has been saddle grafted again with Blakeney Red, and that's alive and well. So I think you can see what's going on. This looks like a mess at the moment, but there is a plan, and I've got about 12 or 13 perry pears, in here, pears that I bought in as properly grafted pears, and rootstocks that I've grafted myself. There are quite a few apple trees knocking around here. They are leftovers from previous plans that didn't quite work. There's even a plum here. There are some rootstocks here, and there's a lot of untidiness here. But we've got a plan now, and hopefully 5 years from now this will look like a young pear orchard, and if I live to be as old as my father, who I was just talking to on the phone recently, if I live to be as old as my father, or his father's father, my father's father, who lived to be 85, despite being a very heavy smoker all of his life, if I can lose some weight and get a bit fitter, then maybe I should live to be as old as my grandfather. Then I will hopefully be producing some of the finest perry in the world from this little quarter of an acre. And also the aim is, once we have established this as an orchard, we may need to use a tiny bit of chemical, but we will keep this organic and hopefully keep the pear midge at bay. So that's about all I've got to say. Just one last thing that's of some interest. This is a bit of leftover rootstock here. This is a couple of apple Mallingbrook 106 rootstocks, and you can see they're shooting up from the base where they've been cut. This has been cut down. What I need to do is to bring some earth here, and earth this up to about an inch, so that these will all root into it, and then they'll be able to be picked up and dug out, and somebody else can use them for rootstocks. I'm not using any more. I'm not looking for any more rootstocks because we have no more space, and our plants are mature. We don't need any more rootstocks. Okay, finally, quinces. I decided to have a little corner dedicated to quinces, and the bottom's just over. This is a quince variety called Serbian Gold. I bought 2 of these. They came through the post. They were very expensive. They were £37 each. Very good trees though, and I think they set a few quinces. Yeah, we set a few quinces. The nice thing about quince is they don't take an awful lot of looking after. They keep quite a long time. They're a very exotic fruit, and there is a small but definite market for them. And I like variety and beauty here. I can afford to do stuff that isn't going to make me any money, simply because it's beautiful and because I want to. I know that a lot of people are not in that happy position. As Abraham Lincoln said, I believe, you cannot abolish poverty by abolishing wealth, and we share what we can. Yeah, and finally, really finally, this is the big quince tree that was growing over there in the shade of those pines and spruces and larch, and it was badly planted. And I dug up and moved, and I've planted it up here. I've cut it back quite hard. I've staked it up rigidly, and I've given it some manure, and if it does set any fruit this year, I'll snip them off, and hopefully in a year or two that will be doing okay. And down here we've got 1, 2, 3, not this is an apple tree which I'll move when I need to, 4, bindweed, out, 5, 6, 7, so we'll have a little corner down here dedicated to quince. Okay, I better shut and get on, move some more manure now.